This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Miami Marlins Park for tonight's Major League Baseball All-Star Game. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Christine Leahy is joining me. It was Home Run Derby last night, a spectacular display by Aaron Judge. We're loaded today. Tom Verducci, Justin Turner of the Dodgers, Chris Carter, Nick Wright, a very, very funny comedian, Craig Robinson, actor-comedian who's got a new Fox hit show. We're trying to get Mark Richt, and Gunther, the pilot, will be in a helicopter today for the last 90 minutes of our show for aerial expertise.
See, I thought you were going to say Gunther would be on the couch with us today so you can talk to him about aviation.
Well, that generally would be something I'd be interested in today, but we have so many people, stars on the set, that Gunther will be flying a helicopter for the last 90 minutes of the show, and we'll give you aerial glimpses of this beautiful South Beach, Miami Marlins Park area. So let's start the show with this. Yesterday was the Home Run Derby. And this is the way it works in sports. Stars get ratings. Aaron Judge got ratings last night. Highest ratings in the Home Run Derby in 8 years. And it was a display. And he won the Home Run Derby. And he is a New York Yankee. And yesterday on our show, Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, predicted greatness. Here was A-Rod yesterday on Aaron Judge.
But here's a guy, Colin, that I'm so excited for. For the first time in a long time, we have a LeBron James type of personality and size that can transcend sports. Here's a guy who's 6'7", 275 pounds, 9% body fat, 32-inch vertical. The guy bench presses 400 pounds, squats 500 pounds, and he's an amazing figure. I mean, and for the next generation to say, well, there's a guy that could be a tight end and an all-pro, and he chose baseball. Why can't I? And hopefully the kids are taking notes of Aaron Judge.
But here's the interesting thing. He is now 25. Serena won her first major at 17. Tiger won his first PGA event at 20. LeBron was 19 out of high school, averaged 20 a game. And at 22 years old, Adrian Peterson for the Vikings rushed for 1,300 yards. Last year, Aaron Judge was called up late in the year, and he hit 174. He toiled for 3 years in the minors. 1 year didn't hit particularly well in AAA. So is he LeBron, Tiger, and Kobe Bryant? And I would argue, oh, yes, it's very possible. Baseball is, frankly, a lot harder. It is. Baseball reminds me of junior high and high school yearbooks. You ever notice this? Even the really, really attractive people at that stage at 13, 14, 15 have the awkward stage. The teeth aren't perfect. There's some acne. It was a bad hair stage. And the truth is, if you look too perfect at 12, 13, 14, 15, too much too soon can lead to problems. Same in baseball. Yasiel Puig, too much too soon. Mark Pryor, Jabba Chamberlain, Kerry Wood. Part of what makes baseball players great is the grind. Mike Schmidt's the best third baseman I've ever seen. He was a .260 hitter in the minors. First year, wasn't very good for the Phillies. Hit under 200. Wade Boggs toiled for 6 years in minor league baseball. Next to Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew, best pure hitter I've ever seen play. Phil Niekro was a Hall of Famer. 7 years in the minors, 3 more to really hit it in Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge was not a huge power guy in college. 1 year of AAA, hit .224. He is actually now a better Major League hitter than he was a high school hitter, a college hitter, and a minor league hitter. Serena can win at 17. Tiger can win at 20. LeBron can be amazing as a rookie. Same with Adrian Peterson. But baseball is harder. And I would argue the great players have struggled at some point, have gone through the grind, and didn't get it all early. So when you look at Aaron Judge, I see the look, handsome kid. I see the size. I see the demeanor. I see the pinstripes. He, to me, is the next big thing. And here is a little bit of an exhibit of what he provided last night to win the Home Run Derby, the highest rated in the last 8 years.
Towering fly ball hit, and it hit the stanchion up top. What do you do with that? Nothing, they say. That's unbelievable. He hit the roof.
Yep, I've never seen that.
High fly ball left field. This one is I don't even know where it went. I don't know where it landed.
3/4 up on the glass out there.
513 feet is where they said it went.
Aaron Judge, congratulations. Is he the LeBron, the Tiger, the Serena? I'm not sure, but don't hold it against him that it's taken him a while and it's a really tough path. That's what baseball provides. Want to shift gears. I thought this was interesting last night. Expectations have a lot to do with how people view all of us. Lonzo Ball sat out a summer league game last night. I'd like to repeat this slowly. Lonzo Ball sat out as a precaution a summer league game last night. That was met with disdain. People were outraged that, he missed a summer league game. Expectations. De'Aaron Fox is a really good player. It would have been okay, I said it, if the Lakers drafted De'Aaron Fox. But they drafted Lonzo Ball, and because of the hype and his dad and his game and people like me who can't wait to see him play, the expectations are unbelievable. I'll give you an example. Anybody ever fly in the last couple years? Have you ever noticed where movies are better on a plane?
Are they?
Well, here's the reality.
Okay.
You went on a date, you spend $50, you go see a movie, you have high expectations.
Oh, I see.
But you go on a plane and you're just trying to kill 2 hours and 20 minutes and it's free and you're a cocktail in and there's some turbulence. You're just trying to take your mind off stuff. And that average movie, whatever it's called, John Cusack, probably in it. Maybe Will Ferrell, Nick Cage. You get off the plane, you're always like, honey, watch a great movie on the plane. What was it called? No idea. It's a great movie. Wouldn't have been a great movie if you go to the theater, drop 40, date doesn't go well, a lot of pressure. So, expectations. Lonzo Ball is going to be a really good player. But the expectations are unbelievable. Giancarlo Stanton is not as good this year as last. But he's a home run hitter. Who cares? He's swatting home runs. Bryce Harper comes in at 19 years old. Hits .270, 22 home runs. We label him the next superstar. Last year, he had more home runs, more RBIs, more stolen bases. A lot of people are like, I don't know. I just don't think he's going to ever be great. Well, that's because a couple of years ago, he won an MVP. Did you notice that was Steph Curry? Steph Curry's first MVP, Steph Curry averaged 24 a game. This past year, he averaged 25 points a game. He made 40 more threes this year than the MVP year. Not in the top 4 voting. In fact, the overall sense was, I don't know, franchise guy, I'm not sure. He was better this year than the year he won the MVP. Clayton Kershaw is 14-2 at the All-Star break. His ERA slightly above 2. But Clayton Kershaw has been so dominant for so many years, we expect him to be great. Russell Westbrook, this year, oh my word, the shiny new toy in the NBA. Russell Westbrook shot 42%, triple-double. LeBron James set career highs in assists, rebounding, shot the 3 ball almost as well as he ever had. Not even invited to the party for MVP. Lonzo Ball is going to be a really, really, really nice NBA player. But when you're being crushed as a precautionary reason, the Lakers hold you out of a summer league game, then you know expectations are truly ridiculous. Tom Verducci, the best baseball writer I believe we've ever had. Funny comedian Craig Robinson on the show. Chris Carter, Nick Wright, Justin Turner, praying for Mark Richt, Miami coach, and Gunther the amazing today helicopter pilot halfway through the show. By the way, he had a gray mustache. That thing just said courage. I love having him on the show today again.
So he's switching from a plane to a helicopter? He's
well,
multi-talented?
There are some budgetary restrictions, and we said, Gunther, love to have you on the show. Can't afford a plane second day. Got a chopper out back. He'll be up at 10:30.
Can I also just say something, because I'm afraid that you're giving men out there bad advice. Do not take a date to a movie for the first 5 dates. That's a bad move.
What?
It's a bad move. It means you don't want to talk to her. You can't start that ever in the relationship.
I had a few dates like that, to be honest.
They probably didn't last long.
All right, coming up next, this is remarkable to me. There is a guy in professional sports in America that we are being so utterly unfair to. Because, again, expectations. It is remarkable what's happening to a player in an athlete in American sports. That's next. Welcome back, Marlins Park. There we are in center field.
It's great music, isn't it, Colin?
It is. You selected the music this week. Oh, that's a nice job.
Playlist. Just to get in the mood.
I just discovered that you have never had, when we travel together, you learn stuff about people, you've never had a cavity.
I've never had a cavity, and the reason that I have now shared this with you is because I was eating a granola bar, and you judged me and said that it's a bad one and that I'm going to have lots of cavities, but it was like a 60-calorie one, so it's fine.
I think I developed a cavity in the last segment. That's incredible. You've never had a cavity.
Never had a cavity. I have good teeth.
So I was thinking about this morning. Here's the story. In less than a week, the window closes for franchise-tagged players in the NFL to sign multi-year contracts. So the Washington Redskins, a team in a very competitive division, where other teams in their division are now starting to roll, can't figure out what to do with Kirk Cousins because they view Kirk Cousins as a backup. And they view Jay Gruden as a really smart offensive guy. And he's just elevating a very average player in Kirk Cousins. And this goes a long way in perception. Kirk Cousins, because he was the second quarterback taken by the same team in a draft, is to some degree viewed as a backup. Whereas a first-round quarterback will be given chance after chance after chance because, well, he is viewed as a starter. He, of course, is a star. Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than RG3. That is not disputable. He's more physically formidable. He has got a more accurate arm. He appears to be able to stay much healthier. And he's been more consistent. And frankly, he's been a better teammate. Players like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is better than RG3. RG3 did some babysitting first year. Shanahan helped him win Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie Offensive Player of the Year. Really wasn't, Andrew Luck was. But here's what's interesting. So Kirk Cousins last year throws for 4,900 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions, and completes 67% of his throws. And the Redskins aren't sure if he's a franchise quarterback. Cam Newton threw for 19 touchdowns, 14 picks, an atrocious 53% completion rate. Well, and Cam's never had consecutive winning seasons. Kirk Cousins has, despite massive team chaos. Cam's a star, Kirk Cousins a backup. Now think about that. Cam has had the advantages of the same head coach, the same quarterback coach, no contract issue dangling over his head, on average better defenses, less chaos organizationally, more symmetry, and a weaker division. I mean, Tampa Bay just now is showing life. New Orleans plays no defense. The division's hot, cold, first, fourth. That's the way it works. I'll say it again. In the NFL, what you don't want to be is chaotic at quarterback. That's when you lose coach, coordinator, scout, GM, assistant GM. You have a franchise quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Day one in the NFL, however, he was seen as a backup. Now think about this, Washington. The Cowboys have the best O-line in the game in Dak Prescott. They're going to score. Eli Manning, Giants won 2 Super Bowls. Great receiving corps. They're going to score. Philadelphia has Carson Wentz, Lane Johnson, best O-line, will play this year. And you want to bail on 4,900 yards and 67%. I'll give you another guy. Here in Miami, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, future of the Dolphins, has been given time and time again a chance. Ryan Tannehill's career record is under 500. His in-division record is 10-17. Even if you took the Patriots out, and it's just against the Bills and Jets, he's like sub 500. Last year, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for Tannehill. Viewed, however, as a starter. You can trust him. You can build around Ryan Tannehill. Let me give you a heads up here. Kyle Shanahan knows quarterbacks. Kyle Shanahan drafted Kirk Cousins. They did because they suspected he was better than RG3, who the owner liked. Drew Brees, let me add this, was never appreciated until 5 years in, and the second team with an offensive-minded head coach, Sean Payton, put his arm around him. Who does really well with quarterbacks in this league? Kyle Shanahan. There have been multiple overtures and reports and rumors that Kyle Shanahan of the Niners wants Kirk Cousins. Washington, you got a steady diet for the next 10 years of Dak, of Carson Wentz, and at least for the next few, those receivers with the Giants and Eli Manning. You bail, you're going to know it very soon. Christine with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, you and I certainly have questioned how Chris Paul and James Harden are going to work together on the Rockets. They both like to have the ball in their hands, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Yeah. Mike D'Antoni is at Summer League, and he was asked about this, and he said their synergy is going to be great. We're going to have an all-star and Hall of Fame point guard for 48 minutes on the floor. So, two things. One, I think he thinks that their synergy will work, and he'll make it work. He's an offensive-minded coach. He'll get that together. But he said, we're going to have them on the floor for 48 minutes. They're obviously not both playing 48 minutes. So is he saying that he's going to, at all times, have one of them on the floor? Or
I think he's speak? I don't think we should take that comment literally. I think coaches just say stuff sometimes.
The 48, they're
going to play a lot together, and there'll probably be moments when they don't play together. But I still go back to this. It used to be basketball was very much about labels. Point guard, shooting guard, small forward. Like right now in the NBA, do you have 5 good players? You need size and you need a ball handler. I think they'll be fine. I really do. When I look at the Warriors now, it's just guys up and down the floor. It's more about spacing than positions. I think they'll be fine.
They can switch around, but I don't know. I think there might be something to the 48 minutes. Maybe he won't have them play together as much?
I think you would.
I don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. But speaking of the Rockets, they might add another piece. Your guy, Carmelo Anthony. It's certainly been a rumor. And now, last night, maybe Nene Instagrammed something that might have given it away. He put out this picture on Instagram. It is Carmelo Anthony in a Rockets jersey, and then quickly deleted it. So maybe he got a tip that Carmelo was coming to town and then was told to take it down before the trade actually happened.
Well, I think Carmelo is going to go to Houston, and I think I'm not a Carmelo guy, but there's a time and a place for even players I don't love. And I think in the West, when you look at the Warriors with Durant and the Spurs with Kawhi Leonard and Minnesota with Jimmy Butler, to have a 6'8", 6'9" forward who can force them to play defense, I don't think it's the worst fit.
It's going to be the new banana boat. Because remember, Carmelo and Chris Paul, they've wanted to play together for a while, so I wonder if this will set up some sort of a rivalry. Banana boat versus banana boat. And finally, last night the Big Three aired, and Steven Jackson's team, they're called the Killer Threes, they went into the game winless. They did have a huge comeback last night, which is great because Steven Jackson said something before the game that would have been really bad had his team lost again. And he was asked whether or not the players in the Big Three could beat a Summer League team. Jackson took it even further. Here he is.
I honestly feel if you got the top 10 guys here, we can beat the actual NBA team. So not just the Summer League, we'll beat the actual NBA team. And that's no gas. I wasn't smiling. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I love the big three. I love that they're doing this. I think it's really, really fun to watch. But I'm putting them in the old dudes category. Again, more old dudes trying to say, oh, well, we can beat this team. We can beat this team.
Yeah, they're not going to.
No, you can't. You can't. Just leave it. You guys play here. Let these guys play their basketball. We don't need to always be comparing the older guys from the new guys. Love
Steven, too, but they'd get smoked.
Yes.
Some of them have, appears to have bellies. But they're still fun to watch.
If you want to have a belly, that's okay. Sometimes with age, that just happens no matter what you do.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Best baseball writer out there, works for Fox, works for Sports Illustrated, a senior baseball writer. We have him on as often as we can. Joining Christine and I, Tom Verducci. How are you this morning?
I am great.
So last night was a bit of a showcase. A-Rod said yesterday on the show, he said, listen, he's LeBron. He's 6'7", and he's good looking, and he's got pinstripes, and he can squat 500 pounds. And that's a lot of hype because, last year they brought him up and he didn't hit well. But baseball's hard. I talked about this in my opening segment. Serena can win a major at 17. Tiger can win a PGA event at 20. In football, Adrian Peterson, 22 years old, takes over the league. Doesn't work that way in baseball. Even great players have bad years. So I look at him and, Tom, he's a star, right?
He's a compelling star, not just a star. People want to see him. Colin, I can tell you this. Let's let him play a full season. I agree with what you're saying. But based on size and physical skill, we have never seen anybody like Aaron Judge. 6'7", 280 pounds. That has never existed in Major League Baseball. He's also very athletic. You think about Tiger in his prime, Michael in his prime. What were they? They were ahead of the field in what they did. I'm not saying this guy is Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan. What I'm telling you is physically, he is such an outlier. He is apart from the rest of his peers. That doesn't happen in today's game, where you have so much training or we're drawing players from around the world. He hits the ball harder and farther than anybody in baseball.
Well, and let's be honest about this. Tiger didn't look like other PGA pros. He looked like Ed Reed of the Ravens. Okay, LeBron was 6'9", no body fat. Part of greatness is, it is just physical. They always say about parenting that after you create the child, a lot of the parenting is done. That, you think you put them in good schools and you're a good baby Einstein. But a lot of the parenting is they're going to get its DNA. A lot of sports is I'm big, I'm strong. Adrian Peterson just faster. I'm trying to draw a parallel. I'm like Dave Winfield, Dave Parker. I got to go to the 70s.
Yeah, and this guy's bigger than those guys.
Significantly bigger.
Dave Winfield got drafted in football and basketball. But yeah, 6'7", 280. But here's the thing about Aaron Judge we have to remember. He's 25 years old. He is not a natural-born phenom. Trout and Harper got to the big leagues at 19. Aaron Judge is 25. His first year at Fresno State, he hit 2 home runs. His sophomore year, he hit 4 home runs. So this is the product of not just DNA, like you're saying. Yes, he's blessed with size.
Huge.
A lot of hard work. This dude hit 179 last year at the big leagues and struck out half the time he came to the plate. And now he is the it guy in baseball.
You know what's really fun? I have friends in New York. Yankee ratings are up 40% this year. Is that, it was for the longest time in baseball. The Yankees go out and spend a lot of money on people. And that's fine. But there is really something about the Lonzo Ball effect. That is, I want to watch a star, my star, and I grow with him. It's Sanchez. It's Judge. They just brought up somebody, another kid they brought up is
Frazier.
Frazier is hot. It's like the Yankees have decided, okay, we're going to let some of these contract runs out. Are these the new Yankees, or will they be aggressive at the trading deadline?
Both, actually. But these are the new Yankees. In fact, I think this is an untouchable core, those guys you mentioned. They'll try to improve this team because they are a playoff contender, but not at the expense of what you said, these homegrown players going forward. Because, yes, for the last couple of years, I'll be honest with you, if you're a Yankee fan, there has not been a player who you wanted to pay money to go see on the Yankees. Partly because a lot of those were imported as free agents.
And they were injured and they were older players.
And they were older. Now it's, let's see the guys who have come through our farm system. That's more important in baseball than any other sport, to watch a player grow within the system.
The way it works, we were talking about this yesterday. I know the Warriors are going to be good for several years. In football, if I have Belichick, Brady, I know they're going to be good. Baseball's cruel. Tom Brady doesn't need rotator cuff surgery. Don't talk Tommy John in football. So the Cubs are great, and they're unbelievable. And you watch them, and you're like, 8-year run. And this year, they don't have the pitching. They don't have a leadoff hitter. Is it possible, despite Theo's brilliance and Joe Madden, it was lightning in a bottle last year? It wasn't about 6 years of greatness.
That's possible, but I still think there's a window here. But this is definitely a retreat from what they had last year. All that pixie dust that happened for them not happening this year. The biggest thing, you alluded to this, Colin, look at their starting pitchers. Last year at this time, first in all of baseball, best in all of baseball. This year, 17th. Older pitchers, Arrieta, Lackey, Lester, all of them, the velocity is down this year by at least a mile per hour across the board. They pitched that 7th month last year, got extended, a little older. It's a young man's game now. And I think that's where they've gone wrong this year. Not to say they can't turn it around. I think they'll play better. But this is not a juggernaut. This team is not going to win 90 games.
You know, having lived in Los Angeles now for a couple of years, ratings are up 20%, which is remarkable because a third of the city can't watch them play. Half the city. There's always been this TV deal in L.A., which gave us more Vin Scully and now Joe Davis, who's this remarkable young announcer. But the Dodgers are as much fun as you can have. Now, with Kershaw, they're fun and fast. The games are done in 2.5 hours. But we have Justin Turner on today. It is just young player, hit, fat. Puig now's way down in the lineup. So I look at the Dodgers. Andrew Friedman goes to L.A., the GM. And the knock on him is, you let Zach Greinke go. This guy's a cheapskate. They keep Adrian Gonzalez. They shed contracts. Now, I look at this Dodger lineup, and I think, Tom, now this lasts. Right?
Absolutely. It's not just the guys in there every day. It's their bench as well. Incredibly deep team. And you touched on something. Their youth and now their confidence. Going back to the Cubs, they're playing the way the Cubs did last year.
Yes.
If they're losing in the 9th inning, they don't think they're going to win the game. They know they're going to win the game. So they are so dangerous because of that.
When you look at baseball right now, we were saying youth participation's actually up. And yesterday, Rob Manfred, he didn't want to take any shots at the NFL, but there's a CTE issue, sometimes overplayed, but nonetheless, moms decide what sons play. Not dads. Moms decide what sons play. A lot of moms now, basketball, let's be honest. If dad's 5'7", chances are your son's not going to play in the NBA. It is intimidating when you're a young person. You go to an AAU gym and everybody's so tall and talented. Football, you've got some physical fears. I sense at a base level a renaissance with baseball at the youth level. Do you sense it? Do you think baseball senses that?
Absolutely. The opportunity is there. I will say that. Tonight's game, watch Jose Altuve standing next to Aaron Judge. If you don't need a better definition of that, anybody can play this game. One's 5'6", one's 6'7", then you're missing something. And that's the great thing about the game. It is the most democratic of all games that we have. Anybody can play. I think there's a real opportunity here, Colin. Based on the Cubs winning the World Series last year, the highest-rated World Series in a generation, 25 years. All the young stars in this game. That home run derby last night was magnificent.
It got huge numbers, by the way.
Yeah, the young players, young stars, they really appealed to the young fans of the game. So the opportunity is there. One thing that needs to be done, and MLB knows this, keep the games moving at a better clip.
Yeah.
That's the only thing missing, Colin. It's pace of action, not time of game. Look at soccer, basketball, football. The ball is in motion. We're retraining our brains. We need that constant feedback. Baseball needs to pick up the pace.
My favorite player to watch is Bryce Harper. And I knew this story because I spent years and years out of college going to Vegas. It was my first job. So I always have a soft spot for Vegas stories. And Bryce Harper's a Vegas kid. Came on the show last year. Met his dad. Really neat family. Generally, when you're called the chosen one, generally it works. Tiger was, LeBron was, Bryce is remarkable. So, but it's funny. He comes into baseball and he hits like 22 jacks, hits 270. Now he becomes an MVP. Then his average dips. Let's go into the mind of Bryce Harper. So far, I believe he's delivered. I absolutely see him as he has been everything I was hoping for. He's got a flair. He's dynamic. How is he viewed in baseball? Because when he came onto the scene, Tom, a little pushback, a little cocky, got the hair. How is he viewed now? Is he put in the years that now he's one of the guys?
Well, first of all, Colin, I'll take credit or blame because I wrote that story on Bryce. We put him on the cover of SI at 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I go in there with complete skepticism. He can't really be that good, or he can't be that mature to carry this kind of responsibility. He blew me away with how good he was and how mature that he was. I felt fine about putting him on the cover. I think the blowback early on was that he was getting all this recognition early. And some of the guys, there's a pay your dues attitude in the game. They didn't think he paid his dues.
Right.
But when you look at the things that he upsets people about, what is it? Does he play the game too hard? Maybe that's it that he does, right?
Yeah.
As you say, emotionally, helmet's flying off the head. There's nothing that he's done to embarrass the game. In fact, he sleeps, eats, breathes baseball.
No
you have
question.
to respect that. Colin, right now, I think he's the most valuable property in baseball because he's going to be a free agent after next year. You can't touch Kershaw. You can't touch Trout right now. This guy is an everyday player with flair who hits home runs, who is good-looking guy, who gets the whole thing about responsibility beyond yourself to the game. To me, there's nobody more valuable in baseball. That contract, the meter is going to drop at $400 million next year and probably get closer to $5 million.
Tom Verducci is joining us, a great baseball, Fox Sports and Sports Illustrated senior writer. When you, I check the standings regularly, and for us at Fox, we have the World Series, so I'm not going to lie. The Cubs was great. I'd love to see Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox. I root for certain traditional powers. Good for my company. Right now, Houston had all those draft picks. They're paying off. Remarkable considering their pitchers have all been on the DL at some point this year. But is there a team a little under the radar? Now, the Cubs were not. High expectations delivered. I don't know if the Yankees have the pitching to withstand this. I think it's a fun story. I like the Red Sox pitching. We know the teams that are pretty good. Is there a dark horse to you to keep your eye on?
Not in terms of getting through all 3 rounds of the postseason. You're talking about a playoff spot, maybe. The Rockies are a nice story. Diamondbacks, nice story. But listen, the class of the American League right now is Houston, Cleveland a notch below them. Class of the National League, the Dodgers. And I think the Washington Nationals, a notch below them. Beyond that, I would take those 4 over the field in terms of winning the World Series. Those teams are that much better.
Yeah, Dodgers could use another arm. Do you think they'll be aggressive at the trading deadline?
I do think they'll certainly look for another pitcher, someone to start a Game 3, assuming Alex Wood is fine when he gets to October. Kershaw is going to have to pitch like he does in the regular season in October. But remember what the Indians did last year, Colin. It was more about their bullpen. You get in the postseason, you have twice as many off days in October as you do in the regular season. It's a different game. You can go to your bullpen more often. The Dodgers can do that. That's, I think, their MO, and I think that's why they think if we don't get another starting pitcher, we're still pretty good.
Yeah. Is there a precedent historically? Did batting averages come down in the postseason because you're facing?
They do. I mean, you're not going to see a number 4 or 5 starter. You're not going to see the last guy to the bullpen. So, yeah, it's tougher to score runs in the postseason.
More situational.
Yeah.
Lower runs.
Exactly. Okay. That's why I think the Houston Astros now are dangerous. Remember the last 10 years, they were like a lot of the analytically inclined teams. They thought strikeouts were just another out. But you look what wins in October. You have to put the ball in play. Now the Astros put the ball in play better than anybody in the American League. So they've gotten the religion on making contact, moving runners along. You have to play a little bit different game in October, and I think we've seen that with teams like the Giants and the Royals who put the ball in play. The Cubs did a good job last year, and I think the Astros now are a very dangerous October team because of that.
A humble man who has more employers than anybody in sportscasting, Tom Verducci. It's great seeing you.
Great being here. Thanks.
All right. Good baseball stuff today. Upside.com. Real deal for saving money. Upside.com. Use the code HERD. They combine flights and hotels. Minimum purchase required. Go to Upside.com. Code HERD. Amazon gift card. $100 minimum. We are in Miami. I love this shot by our crew.
That's the back of us.
Yes.
Oh, and I just realized that.
And Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit a couple of home runs last night that bounced off that glass wall, which is about 15 feet from where we're sitting right now.
They must have designed it specifically to be hit by balls.
They did. And about 2 miles outside that window is downtown Miami, maybe 3. I think this is the home of the Orange Bowl years ago. Little Havana, I think, is the neighborhood which we've been driving through this week. I thought this was interesting. A.J. Hawk, Green Bay Packers, good football player, wrote an article for the Players Tribune. Athletes often do that. And he talked about life after football. And there was an interesting quote at the end of this story. He says, for me, the only regret is that we didn't win multiple Super Bowls during my time in Green Bay. Think about it. You've got Aaron Rodgers, greatest quarterback of all time. You should have a shot at winning it all. We had a great group of guys around him, too. I played with Brett Favre for 2 years, Aaron Rodgers for 7. We only got one ring. Don't get me wrong, I'm always going to cherish that ring, but looking back, I believe we should have won more. Of course you should have won more. But Green Bay is not aggressive in free agency. Favre begged to get Randy Moss, and the Patriots got Randy Moss. Aaron Rodgers, 6-7 years ago, begging to get Marshawn Lynch, who'd also played at Cal, and Seattle went out and got him from Buffalo. Aggressive matters. This reminds me of Carmelo Anthony today, apparently very interested in the Houston Rockets, and that a deal will get done. Now, I've been saying this about Boston. The Celtics have been, if you could label them, more conservative, tentative, patient, frugal, reluctant, regardless of the words. Houston has been Chris Paul, now Melo, aggressive, going for it, progressive, risk-tolerant, gamblers. I would just say this. Young people like a good party. And what Houston is creating is, hey, man, Chris Paul, James Harden, we're going to make it happen, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. And sometimes you have to create your own momentum. The NBA and all sports, but specifically the NBA, has a history of rewarding risk takers. LeBron leaves Cleveland, comes back. KD at a good team, rolls the dice, going to be hated, goes to Golden State. Warriors had a championship roster, let's add KD. Celtics go Ray Allen and KG with Paul Pierce. Dan Gilbert goes out and re-recruits LeBron James. Lakers historically go for it. In fact, in hockey, there have been 6 times where a team has fired a coach in this season. That usually means the season's over and won a Stanley Cup. Baseball, Yankees have done it twice. Marlins in the NBA 4 different times, twice by the Lakers, once by the Cavs a couple years ago, fired David Blatt, got Tyronn Lue, and won the championship. My point being, that's a really, really aggressive move. But we've got 6 times in the NHL. We've got 4 times in the NBA. We've got the Yankees and Marlins have fired managers and won that year. Be aggressive. In my lifetime, not just in sports but in life, smart and patient doesn't get the prize. Smart and aggressive does. If you look at all these Silicon Valley stories, at some point, people, men, women, push their chips to the middle of the table. And the story of Facebook, be aggressive. And Boston's been 4 years of patient, and because of it, they just lost Avery Bradley, and they landed Gordon Hayward, who, according to reports, left Utah because he didn't want to be the man. You got a lot of draft picks. Be aggressive. Sports rewards it. And Daryl Morey, the aggressive GM of the Houston Rockets, said, when it comes to deals, work quickly.
The Clippers were smart by moving early. It actually is valuable to a trade partner to move early. It gives us more flexibility in terms of players we can add with our exceptions. It gives us more clarity going into free agency of what we need to add. So that going early really allowed us to get them more value. They were smart to come up with this idea of moving them early, and we jumped at it.
And I'm just a big believer. I didn't used to think this. I do now, that sometimes, rare occasions, you got to dip into draft picks. I think New England's done this with Brady. They were accumulators of draft picks. And then Tom Brady's going to retire. They know it, and they're like, okay, let's shed draft picks and get veterans. Boston isn't your typical NBA team. They are one of the top 5 teams in the league, and in the East, they're clearly now number 2. So I don't always believe on giving up draft picks. Maybe if you're Dallas, maybe if you're other teams. But when you're the Lakers and Boston and have a history of landing an occasional free agent, I think you give up draft picks and you go aggressive. And I'd say this, I have friends who are Packer fans, and that's the biggest knock Packer fans always say, is that the one time that Aaron Rodgers had a great defense, he won a Super Bowl. And Green Bay has always been reluctant. They rely heavily on either occasional trades or draft picks. Well, that's a bar stool missing a leg if New England's doing free agency. So I don't like what Boston's doing. I feel like they're not inching much closer. They lose Olenek and Bradley. They gain Gordon Hayward. cross your fingers on Jason Tatum, but I'd give up lots and lots of picks to get Porzingis. That, to me, can put you over the top. I absolutely believe that. Porzingis and Gordon Hayward, I think now you can beat Cleveland. I really do. I think that highly of Porzingis. I think with their bench and their coaching, that could happen. Hour 2 coming up. Thank you, Gunther, for the helicopter video there. It's the Herd. This is the Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Miami, Marlins Park, home of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game tonight. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Christine Leahy is joining me. We have a very funny guy coming on in about 3 minutes who's on a new Fox show. And very funny. You've seen him on The Office. You've seen him in Seth Rogen movies. You've seen him, I think, with Steve Carell and Will Ferrell. And he's a really funny guy. That's in a couple of minutes. I want to start with this. Sometimes there's empty stats. In baseball, wins for a pitcher can be kind of empty stats. Adam Wainwright for St. Louis right now is 10-5, but he's got an ERA well over 5. Same team, Mike Leake is 6-7, but he has an ERA barely over 3. You see this all the time. I see it with countries. Japan has the longest lifespan expectancy. We're like 30-something. Well, we also don't have their mass transit system. We lose 33,000 people a year on average to car deaths, many of them unfortunately young. All car deaths are obviously unfortunate. Whenever I see stats, I want to dig deeper. Does it mean the quality of life here? Our diets are different than perhaps other countries. In baseball, there's a stat out there that I've always believed is a little overblown, and that is current assist stats. If you look at ball usage right now in the NBA, outside of the Greek Freak and LeBron, basically point guards have the ball all the time. It is much easier to get to 8, 9, and 10 assists. So I'm reading a story yesterday about Paul George coming over to Oklahoma City and Russell Westbrook. And he says, the Lakers stuff is overplayed. I want to be part of a great system. I believe Paul George and Russell Westbrook will eventually struggle to play together because Russell Westbrook, at the end of possessions, falls into tunnel vision. It's his DNA. It's who he is. It's part of what makes him great. And people always push back on, well, he averages 10 assists a game. I believe wins in baseball and life expectancy country to country have to be contextualized. I do not believe just pure assists mean a lot. Iverson, Stevie Francis, and Marbury, in a game that wasn't as point guard centric, averaged nearly 7 assists a game, but were always considered very difficult to play with. And Iverson, Francis, and Marbury in today's game would average 9 to 10 assists. I really believe that. They'd have the ball so much more in their hands. It's the way the NBA is now. More possessions, court spread out, people hitting the wings. You feed the ball to them. A lot of easy assists today. So I think Paul George and Westbrook are going to struggle at the end of possessions, end of games, end of halves, despite Westbrook being a huge assist guy. I'm going to introduce somebody now who has got a new show on our network being Fox. It's called Ghosted. He's with a very funny Adam Scott. You've seen him on The Office. You've seen him often in movies like Knocked Up, Pineapple Express, This Is the End. I want to bring on Craig Robinson to our show here in Miami at Marlins Park. Let's hear it for Craig. Let's hear it for you in an empty stadium.
All right. That was a good applause.
Hello, everyone.
I like that blink. What does that say?
This right here?
Yeah.
It says, take your panties off.
What in the?
Say that.
Now let me ask you. You've worked with Steve Carell. You work with a lot of funny guys. You were a music teacher. You were a music teacher.
Yes, I taught kindergarten through 8th grade in Chicago and Indiana when I first got out of college. So I taught music but my calling was always comedy. In college, I knew I was going to go into stand up and acting and all of that.
So you're a music teacher for years, and
Yes.
What are you doing at night in Chicago?
At night in Chicago, I was burning candle at both ends. I was going to do stand up. I was doing Second City. I was working on my craft, man.
Do you remember your first stand up bit?
Yes. What? It was at a club called All Jokes Aside in Chicago.
Oh yeah. You're from Chicago.
I haven't been to that one at Second City.
You've never heard of All Jokes Aside?
No. But I'm sure it was great.
It was downtown.
Go now.
It's gone now. No, it's going now.
Okay, won't go.
It's been going for years now. But when I started in '94, what happened was it was right around New Year's. I go into this New Year's party, and there was this girl there. It was like 8 of us, but I was like, yeah, I want to get some comedy, and people were like, oh yeah, All Jokes has an open mic, So I wanted to impress the girls. So yeah, I'll be there. So everybody came that night.
Yeah,
and on the way to the club, I was trying to write jokes. I realized I didn't have any punchlines. so I started to perform, and I had this like out of body experience. By all accounts, I should not ever have gotten back on stage to do any jokes, but something was so comfortable about being up there that I went back and figured out what to do.
Some punchlines?
Yeah.
I figured out some punchlines, yeah.
Did you ever think Steve Carell, because I think we first saw him on The Office, right? And then all of a sudden I saw him in like Foxcatcher, and I see him in serious roles, and I'm like, no, Steve Carell's like a world-class actor.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever think...
We saw it every day. Yeah. I mean, even on The Office, he had to be so many different things to so many different people. He had to. One of my favorite lines from The Office was when he said, "A good boss doesn't fire, he inspires." And it was just the seriousness and the depth that he said it that I was like, man, this dude, something else. But from day one, he was. He's multi-talented.
So that was a British show that came over to the States. Ricky Gervais had the British version, Steve Carell the American version. When did you realize? My daughters have watched every episode. Like on Netflix, that's their thing.
Right.
When did you realize, when did your life change where, oh my God, I'm on the hottest show in America for several years?
Change? Let me see. I don't know. I guess.
When you would go to a coffee house and everybody knew who you were.
Well, it's still, it happens quite, I guess that was probably 4 years in for me or something, because I wasn't in every episode, so it took, I think, a little bit longer for people to kind of grab. I remember one time being on the red carpet, and this guy was like getting pictures of all the Office characters, and I was like, hey man, here you go. And he was like, no, like he didn't even know I was on the show yet. So I always think about that guy. He's like, oh wow, that was Daryl.
Yeah, that's disappointing, right?
A little bit.
I totally get that.
And I don't ever offer pictures, but I was just in this mood like, yeah, sure, come on, let's take a picture. If somebody wants to take a picture, fine. But I'm never like, here, come on, take it, just because of that reason. Somebody might reject me.
You are Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow. You're starting to work with the same people over and over, so obviously you get along with people. You're easy to hang with. Is that the thing now to do? Like, I see a lot of actors do that. By the way, Scorsese, Spielberg, Bradley Cooper. Most guys work with the same crew. Ben
Stiller has that crew. Adam Sandler has, a crew. And, yeah, it's nice to be a part of a crew. They call, yes, I will come running. But we all have our different projects. It's not like, okay, what's the crew doing? What are we going to work on next? It's just, it has happened that way. That you work with people you like and you trust, and like you get together, and it's like, playing sports. What people are going to do. People are going to try to surprise you. People, who can catch the ball, and go for a touchdown. So it's all about getting back together and working out that trust.
Seth Rogen, Will Ferrell, Steve Carell. You've worked with like the funniest guys. Yes. I still contend 40. What's that movie? 40-Year-Old
Virgin.
I said when it came out, people made fun of me. I said it should have been nominated for an Oscar. Most comedies get worse at the 30-minute mark. That movie got better in the second half.
Up and up and up and up.
It was an incredible movie.
That's Judd Apatow, man. He lets the camera roll, and then they'll be, throwing jokes out and all kinds of, like I wasn't knocked up. And the way that monologue I ended up doing this monologue, and like the top half was Judd wrote, and the bottom half was improv that I did, and jokes we were collaborating on. So he's open to collaborating. He's open to the moment, because comedy is all about that moment. It's all about some special happening in the moment.
Let's look at about a 30-second clip. This is I watched about a 2.5-minute clip this morning. The show is called Ghosted. It's coming to Fox October 1st on Sunday. It's called Ghosted with Adam Scott himself, a very funny guy. Watch the clip.
Starting now, you two are working for the underground.
It all leads to Waterbridge Nuclear Power Plant.
We need to get you inside that reactor room.
Hi, yeah, the printer is jammed.
I'm going to send over two of my best guys.
How's it going, man?
This is one of those, this is a copy machine.
Uh-huh.
I'm more of a fax machine guy. Max the fax machine guy.
That has a fax machine in it.
This one?
Yep, that one right there.
2-in-1.
Since this is an all-in-one wraparound, I think that's more your specialty.
Maybe you should just go ahead.
That's enough back talk, bro.
Oh, I'm gonna go.
No, I want you to see this.
Why? She doesn't.
You will show me the respect I've earned.
Yeah, I can't be here for this.
And scene. That was great.
Watch your face.
So you both grew up in Chicago.
Yes.
You're a Cub fan.
Yes. North side.
Sucks. South side.
There you go. I mean, it's we can't even argue about it because if you're from the North side, you're just a Cubs fan. If you're from the South side, you're a Sox fan. That's how it is.
It's so sacrilegious, but I like both.
Okay.
But I mean, I claim Sox because I am from the Sox, from the South side. But I was very happy for the Cubs last year.
You're my favorite kind of Sox fan.
I
at least appreciate greatness.
We were filming Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and we were like, between it takes, it was just like, oh, what's happening? And the game was so, it was rain delay. It was so much drama. It was beautiful.
By the way, there's a different kinds of funny. I was watching outtakes with you and Will Ferrell this morning when he was wearing the Ric Flair wrestling.
Yeah, that's Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound Down.
Yeah.
So
the plums.
But it's different. Like there's different kinds of funny. Like Steve Carell is deadpan funny. Will Ferrell is over the top funny.
Right.
So if I described your funny,
I come from that deadpan school. I love Leslie Nielsen and Harvey Korman and
old school
Peter Sellers kind of, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, for sure.
How old are you?
45.
Oh, okay. You're old school then.
Yeah, I go there.
You go Harvey Korman and
yeah.
That's Carol Burnett's show.
Exactly. But that's who I always had my eye on, the person who was like, setting up the joke. Larry from the Three Stooges, always kind of just subtle.
Were your parents in comedy?
My mother's a musician. She taught music and, minister music and all this. And so she's always, leading people. And then my father is an attorney, but he's a ham. So he would, do stuff.
Yeah. I could never do stand up. Could you ever go up and tell a joke, Christine?
I think so.
Oh, God, I could.
I wouldn't be great at it.
Terrifying.
Maybe for 2 minutes. So I only had a couple jokes.
It's such a thrill.
Oh,
that's the thing. You get past the terrifying part and then to the thrilling part, finding out, whoa, man, these ideas are connecting with people.
I'm terrified right now.
You're right now.
I don't know how you guys do stand up. I just couldn't do it.
As I was contemplating getting to stand up and studying and figuring out how to do it and all this, I would read these quotes, and one quote said, "Do it in spite of your fear," and that and I just saw this big wall of fear right at the stage, and I had to walk right through it.
Well, good luck to you, Craig Robinson,
my man.
Should we just clear something up real fast? That was a catchphrase. I just want to. That's from their movie. This is the end, right?
Yes, but it's my catchphrase and in my act, and that's why we included it. And this is the end.
We just needed to clear the
air. Didn't mean to blow your mind there. He was like, "Whoa, we just started." Yeah.
Good meeting you, bud.
Hey, likewise, man. Thank you.
In Miami, Chris, Nick, round the corner. It's the Herd. Welcome back, Marlins Park in Miami, home of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game. Tom Verducci, funny guy Craig Robinson, Chris Carter, Nick right around the corner. Dodgers, a third baseman, having a hell of a year. Justin Turner's joining us. Don't forget, with TrueCar, you can find what other people in your area paid for the same car you're looking for. On average, save $3,000 MSRP. Doesn't matter if it's new or a used car. Gunther, the pilot, will be giving us aerial photographs via...
I feel like we owe Gunther... The microphone's broken. I feel like we owe Gunther some respect. His name is Larry. I wonder if he'd prefer to be called Larry.
I think if you ask most Larrys, they'd prefer to be called Gunther.
Okay, well, we can maybe ask him in person and communicate via hand signal.
If you're up there, Gunther, please keep your hands on the wheel. There's no reason to signify us that you can hear us or nod. I don't need some aviation issue here in the Herd. But that is a picture, I think, of the port of Miami.
Go right if you like being called Larry.
Yeah, well, Larry's a fine name. I think Gunther stands out more. And I think all pilots want to be recognized as experts.
It does sound sophisticated.
It does. Gunther, and it sounds courageous. I think most pilots are courageous. So last night, Home Run Derby. It got the highest ratings in 8 years. And, people say to me sometimes, oh, I can't believe you talk the summer league in the NBA. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it creates stars. Lonzo Ball, star. Ben Simmons last year, star. I don't create them. I'm in the omelet business, not the egg business. I don't create the stars. The stars are handed to me. And when they're handed to me, I'm like, I'm going to use it. I want a finished product. I don't want to have to build a guy into a star. I want a guy delivered to me as a star. I'm not making the omelet.
You want the omelet delivered.
I'm not. My job isn't to create stars. People have star power, or they don't have star power. And so Lonzo Ball, crazy promoting dad, Lonzo's Game, UCLA, the whole thing, big baller brand. He is a star handed to me, and this is why the Summer League is selling out games for the Summer League. And so Aaron Judge last night, he's a star. And last night at the Home Run Derby, he won it. Here's some of the highlights.
Forget it. There it goes. Climbs through the roof and out of the yard.
Really? Yeah. Oh, my God. Okay, it's not the big thing right here. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Drop the bat.
Aaron Judge, your 2017 Home Run Derby champion. And he made it look easy.
Yeah, he did. And again, I've never been really a purist. I love football, but I think in our business, the media business, the biggest mistake you can do for your business is become a purist. Golf's more interesting with Tiger. Stop trying to convince me Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth is interesting. You're a purist. It's not good for business. In the NBA, I follow about 7 players and 4 teams. And Aaron Judge, Yankees, Lonzo Ball, Lakers, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, Calipari, Kentucky, Krzyzewski, Duke. There are just some people that connect with teams, and they feel bigger. And last night, for an exhibition, a home run derby, it had the highest ratings. They had millions of people watching. And tonight, I like the All-Star Game. I think the baseball All-Star Game, Christine, works because baseball is so individualistic, pitcher against batter, that you don't need great chemistry. Like in football, the idea that you and I could never play together and then 5 days later be in a Pro Bowl is ridiculous.
Right.
Or in basketball, we could be great players, but if we've never played together. But in baseball, I don't have to ever have played with you. If I'm Clayton Kershaw and I go on the mound, I'm watching the pitcher against the batter battle, and it's just comprised of those two individuals going at it. So I think the baseball All-Star Game is built to work because you don't need massive chemistry in baseball. A guy can hit or he can't, and a guy can pitch or he can't. So I look forward to tonight on Fox. And here's Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
August 26th is a big day in Las Vegas. It is not only when Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather are scheduled to fight, it is also the Big Three Championship Finals on Fox. So there was a problem because the biggest arena, T-Mobile Arena, was already taken by Big Three before this fight was announced. So now there was kind of a disagreement on who would get it, and it turns out that Big Three and Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather have made a deal, and the Big Three Championship will move now to the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and then the fight will be at T-Mobile. So somebody got some money here.
Yeah, that's both on the same day?
Yeah, they're both on the same day.
Couldn't they have separated them by a day?
Well, listen, they would have had to say to Floyd Mayweather, we need you to move or choose a different day, and I don't think Floyd takes no.
Did you see that IRS story with Floyd?
I'm getting there.
Sorry.
Stop taking my stories.
Very impatient. Sorry.
Is that all you wanted to say about that one?
No, that's all. I want to hear your next story on it.
Well, I mean, have you been to the MGM?
Yes, they're
Grand
both.
Garden?
I went. You're going to make fun of me. You know who I saw perform?
I am going to make fun of you. I can tell already.
At the MGM Grand?
Who?
Cher and Cyndi Lauper. Don't make fun of me!
Why?
I got whatever.
Did you take a date there?
No!
You went by yourself?
With a friend. It was a bad decision.
You went with a male friend to go see Cher and Cyndi Lauper? That's even worse.
Listen, I had a couple of mimosas, and it was a poor decision by me.
A mimosa at night? We need to chat after the show. All right, now I'm going to get to the IRS stuff. Actually, wait a second. It's one more story. So Conor McGregor was taking a walk down Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. I'm sure you've been there at least once or twice.
Once, yeah.
Is that when you went to the Lucky Brand store?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. So Conor McGregor was walking down Rodeo with no shirt on. And TMZ Sports caught up with him, obviously very easy to spot when he's walking around with no shirt. And they asked him if the president of Ireland would be attending the fight. And here's Conor's response.
Hey, Conor, will the president of Ireland attend the fight?
I am the president of Ireland.
That's what's up.
He's fighting that night.
Okay, so Conor is now the president of Ireland. I don't think the president of Ireland likes that so much.
No.
But he feels very confident about himself. And now, as you mentioned, Floyd Mayweather apparently has some tax issues. He owes like $26 million back to the IRS.
Oh.
And he's asked if he can wait until after the fight to use some of his winnings to pay for it.
I don't.
And of course, Conor McGregor was asked about that as well. And here's his take.
He took the fight just to pay back the IRS? Like, give a what he did. I don't give a Right. I don't care what he doing, though. He should have stayed retired. He should have stayed retired. Now, he should have paid his taxes and stayed retired. Really? so kept my name out of his mouth.
Well, maybe he came out of retirement so he could pay his taxes. Maybe this is the reason. He needs the money.
I heard one time that he flew his luggage first class.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, that's a way to eat away at your net worth right there.
Every time I've seen him, he has a crew of about 10 bodyguards. That's got to be expensive. And he has a bag of cash with him at all times.
All right. And he likes to gamble on sports. I know that. Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
It's my guys, September 5th, the show will debut. It's called First Things First. I can't believe they're wearing suits in the summer in Miami. It's Chris Carter. It's Nick Wright. It's a little warm here.
Hey, hold on.
What's happening?
Your shoes. I'm dying for your shoes.
Oh, thank you, Christine.
Those are very, very cool and very color coordinated.
I appreciate that.
I usually like Chris's game, his fashion game, but you take it today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Good to see you as well, Colin.
Good to see you guys. By the way, you're a Florida guy, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
You've lived here a lot. You have
25 years.
So you built your whole business here. You've got high school camps and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, part of my business was built here, part in Atlanta. But yes, a lot of resources in South Florida.
South Florida is an amazing part of the country. I was saying this yesterday. I like college football, but when I come to Miami, first thing I think of is the beach, and the second thing I think of is the Hurricanes. And you obviously know all about that program. Mark Richt, by the way, is having an unbelievable recruiting class. It looks like Miami is on the way back, or am I jumping ahead of myself?
Well, right now, if you look at a lot of the national rankings, Miami is at the top of the charts. It's a lot of people would be shocked, but those in the business know. First, Mark Richt, quality person.
Yes.
He's also from Boca Raton, which is basically 45 miles north of here on the other side of Fort Lauderdale. So if they can keep the kids in these two counties, Broward County and Dade County. Dade County is here in Miami. Broward County just a little bit north. There is no two counties in the United States that produce more Division I football players. So if he can just keep the kids here, then the results would be those 17, 19 commitments they have and them being in the top five, with the program not being a top five program.
Yeah, I've always felt that college football feels like a small town sport. Miami makes it feel city. So I always loved the Miami Hurricanes. All right, here we go. So Paul George is now going to play with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Oh.
And then Paul George will become a Laker. It's not going to work. But do you think it will?
Paul George is going to become a Laker.
Yeah.
You're sure of that?
Yeah.
Because Paul George ain't sure of that. Paul George today came out and said, listen, this thing's overblown. Let's see how this year plays out. And you know what I know about every 20-something-year-old man in America? They don't know what they're doing a week from now, much less a year from now. Which reminds me, the last time we spoke, Paul George was a topic because Danny Ainge was leaking. It was going to take every pick he's ever had, plus Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder, to get Paul George. It turned out it took Victor Oladipo's terrible contract and the second best Sabonis in league history to get Paul George. And so now I would just like to give Danny Ainge's props. It's very hard on him. His strategy of acquiring all-stars who played for Brad Stevens in college. He's 1 for 1. But unfortunately for him, there's only one in league history.
Right.
And now what Paul George said today was, listen, we make the conference finals. We have a good season. I'd be dumb for leaving. Now, maybe he does go to Los Angeles. But maybe if he was on any really good team this year, he stays there.
Yeah.
One of those teams could have been Boston. But I know, listen, Celtics ain't interested in those good players right now.
It literally was impossible for him to go to the East. We know that.
I don't think it's Paul George. The question really is about him. I think we should be asking ourselves about Russell Westbrook, because Russell's more important. This season was the biggest of Russell's life.
Yeah.
Why? Because he lost KD and with the beef that was going on between them. So for me, it's more important, how does Russell react? Because if he doesn't react in a bringing in a Paul George, it's going to be critical to the rest of his career. Or he's going to be like Kobe Bryant, where no superstar wants to play with him, but without the cachet, without the championships. So for me, it's really important how Russell treats this, because they could package themselves a number of different places. If he likes playing with Russell, I believe that changes the number of places they can go to, and also OKC could also keep both of them there.
And, Colin, you're saying it's not going to work, and I get it. I understand that you do not necessarily like the style of Russell's game, even though I think you like Russell. Like,
a good person and all.
But what, aside from Golden State, is there any team in the West we're sure has a better top two? Like, are we sure James Harden and Chris Paul, at this phase in Chris Paul's career, are a better top two than Russell Westbrook and Paul George? I'm sure San Antonio does not have a better top two. Kawhi Leonard and who?
Right.
Is Danny Green now their second best player? It ain't LaMarcus Aldridge. Not with what we saw from him in the postseason. And at basketball, we only got 5 players on the court. If you got 2 of the 12 best in the world on your team, you're in pretty damn good shape.
Well, the problem with OKC last year, even with Russell playing the way the other guys were, so bad.
Terrible.
And their inability to be able to shoot the ball from the three-point line, that just hampers both of their game.
I said this earlier, I like aggressive. I think in sports, I think patience works in research and development. Be patient for years and years. But I think there's certain businesses like Silicon Valley and sports where aggressive wins. And I just like Houston being aggressive and Boston's being more patient. So I want to see Houston win. So Aaron Judge last night is, first of all, he looks like a star. Sometimes it's just DNA. I mean, he's like 6'7", he squats 500. I don't even know if there's a comp for him. When I was a kid growing up, there was a guy named Dave Winfield.
Yes.
Dave Winfield was big. He's not this big.
Yeah, got drafted by the NBA, also got drafted by the the NFL. Yeah, great athlete from University of Minnesota.
Okay, so I watched him last night, and he had balls hitting off the glass here. What am I supposed to make of that? Is he the next LeBron?
It's amazing. You know, we moved to New York. Friday night, I went to Yankee Stadium, and I watched him in person for the first time, and I really thought that I was a kid looking at the book about Paul Bunyan. Remember we saw the book about Paul Bunyan, how big he was and how little in his forearms and everything? I mean, he is an extraordinary, huge human being. Just look at his from his kneecap to his hip bone. All right? He's ginormous. It's like a LeBron or some special freakish athlete now playing baseball. The thing that I like is he's been true to his sport. He always wanted to be a great baseball player, and hadn't been detracted to playing the other sports when he has the rare body. You know how phenomenal he is when you start asking, could this guy play another sport?
Oh, of course.
And he transfers the size. Because there's a lot of guys walking around life just big for no dang on good reason.
Right.
Now, he transfers the size into power, and now with technique, he's changed his whole batting, the way he's looking at it, the way he's holding his front leg in there. And I know Joe Girardi, the manager there, and he say he's duplicated Derek Jeter off the field. He has the same personality. You can build your franchise around him. So the only thing more extraordinary than his overall ability, they say, is his personality and his approach to day and being great.
I was so ready to be all about this thing until you said the last comment you said. So let me give Judge his props first. Not only does baseball need this, they need him on that team.
Sure.
Aaron Judge, the exact same guy on the Cincinnati Reds. It does not matter for baseball the way it matters with the Yankees.
Agreed.
It is the overwhelming dominant team in the sport as far as if you have a star, what it can mean for the league. And I'm happy for him. And he seems like an amazing young person. But you said, is he the next LeBron? I heard Skip and Shannon today comparing him to LeBron. Aaron Judge is 25 years old. 25 years old, LeBron James has been to an NBA Finals. He had won an MVP, was the most hyped athlete ever, and he had actually exceeded the hype. Aaron Judge last season had 84 at-bats and struck out 42 times. So, I am super thrilled that this is happening.
Right.
I think this year on FS1 and Fox, we have the ALCS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I would love for Aaron Judge and the Yankees to be up there with him having 58 home runs.
Yes.
I need to see a little more, and by a little more I mean like a decade straight of this before I can compare him to the greatest athlete I've ever seen. But it's unbelievable. The hype last night, we saw the ratings on the other network. It was because of him.
I think also when you start making the comparison to LeBron, don't give us the 14 years LeBron, because this kid's got 30 home runs at the All-Star break.
Right, but he's 25 years old.
I understand that. But size, speed, and power, he's so unique that you had to grab LeBron.
By the way,
you're saying, well, we're reaching too far. But that's how far and that's how unique his talent is.
By the way, it should be noted, Wade Boggs, 6 years in the minors. Phil Niekro, Hall of Famer, 7. Mike Schmidt was a 260 hitter. Baseball's just harder. And first of all, you go into the minor league system. You have a 30-year roster's pitchers, and you don't hear about quarterbacks doing Tommy John surgery.
I don't think it's harder. Actually, to make it to the major leagues, it's easier because you can specialize. I mean, you can just be fast. You can't catch, you can't bat, and you can get to the major leagues. You can be a great outfielder and hit 200, still make it to the major league. You can pitch 2 innings. You can have a tremendous curveball, still make it to the major league. All the major leagues are hard to get there, but trying to say that Major League Baseball is harder than the other ones? No, because they're riding on buses? No. That's just the way the system is.
Hold on, but what if we edited it slightly? Harder to become great at it. Not necessarily harder to make the majors, but harder to become great at it.
Well,
I think that's
I think greatness is a relative term. It's the easiest to get rich at. So what difference do it make if you're great if I'm rich? Well, they make a lot of people rich, and we think that they're great players because they're rich, and they're really not great.
All right, I got to ask you about Lonzo Ball. I want you to stay here, and I'm going to tell people about Uber.
Oh,
jeez.
By the way, it's about a $27 drive home plate to where that ball hit last night. I figured it out this morning. Giancarlo Stanton hit a ball during a game that's only 4 feet shy of that wall. That's something. Welcome back. Marlins Park, Miami, Major League Baseball All-Star Game tonight on Fox. It's the Herd. Christine Lay is joining me. We're way out there in center field. Look at that. We're way out there. Home run balls hitting that glass.
Nope.
Last night. Well, Budweiser sign. I wish they'd sponsor our show. You know, Budweiser, we give you a lot of free plugs. I'm not going to go Harry Carey during the show, but I wouldn't drink during it. But, okay, Chris Carter, Nick Wright. So last night, Lonzo Ball missed a Summer League game. Social media outrage. Like, the guy's a quitter. Like, that's a star. When you miss a Summer League game, the coaching staff says, yeah, you and Brandon Ingram, go rest a little bit. People go nuts. What do you make of the expectations?
Well, first thing I made of it is I saw one of the most scurrilous things about the NFL polluting the best sport in the world, the NBA, and that is the anonymous scout on another team talking trash about a player.
Oh, he did?
Oh, an anonymous scout told, I forget which reporter, if he were on my team, I'd be disgusted with him. Shut up, anonymous scout. It's a Summer League game. And I get it. I think Chris is going to disagree with me on this. But as we evolve as people and we evolve our understanding of things, we are smarter and we are more cautious with important assets. Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball are very important assets. And even if it makes the old-timers or the guys that played through stuff makes them mad, sitting out a Summer League game because you might potentially maybe have a nagging something is smart.
Right.
Smart and tough don't necessarily, they don't have to go against each other, but they're not always the exact same thing. But you're right about the fact that, yeah, there's a lot of talk surrounding the number 2 pick of the draft.
Well, I think there's a couple things here. Number one is through the Summer League, he's already had a couple injuries before they start playing.
Sure.
So now they've seen him in a couple games. I don't have a problem with him sitting out. What I want to watch is, as these kids develop, Ingram and Ball, Magic Johnson. When Magic Johnson was a rookie, we saw what he did his first year. My brother was drafted by the Lakers in his second year. My brother went to training camp with them, played a full season with them. He told me that Magic Johnson won every drill, won every race, if they was driving from somewhere to lunch, he'd drive his car the fastest to get there. He was so competitive. So with me in managing these young assets, it's hard to try to raise an athlete and try to change the prototype because Magic wouldn't have set out the game, but he made Ingram sit out. So the next game, he has Ball sit out when he wouldn't have sat out. Now, this is the problem that I believe that great athletes have in managing, and that's the problem, one of the problems Magic had when he was a coach of the Lakers. No, they're not Magic Johnson, but we have certain ways to train athletes. You can't break that mold just because these kids are young. Go back and look at LeBron when he played in the summer league. Played in every game, got great numbers. You get better by playing. Colleges are practicing less. So now people think that you can develop a skill by practicing less? No. Now, if you have the potential to get hurt, I do understand that. But Magic is going to have to manage what he knows works in his head compared to this new generation that might not want to push themselves beyond what you think you can do to reach greatness.
I think that's crazy. These young guys.
No, you think I'm crazy because I said it. Which one? Because I need to know because my next comment will be based on.
You're crazy.
Okay.
I think what you said is crazy. Does that equivocate enough? Hold on a second.
Yes.
These kids play more basketball than anyone. The young guys in the NBA right now are coming into the league having played more basketball.
So what about Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, those guys that played 3 sports? They might play more basketball, but they don't participate in athletics more than we did. Would you say that's correct?
CC, these guys play.
Would you wait? Answer the question first.
Would you say that's correct? Participate in more athletics. Overall athletics, sure. But what I also know is this: when Magic was playing, he wasn't, as a high schooler, playing 9 AAU games in a 4-day tournament.
Oh, he's right.
All of these kids did. And the NBA guys, I just saw DeMar DeRozan at the Compton Park. I apologize. The Drew League.
Yes.
He's playing there against a high schooler. These guys are playing basketball for free year round. And you made a good point about that. Maybe why Magic wasn't the best coach, because he had to couldn't put himself in lesser players' shoes. It's maybe why Luke Walton's the perfect coach. Luke Walton wasn't any great player, but he understands what these guys need.
But Magic came down from his seat next to Luke and them and told them pull the plug on Ingram. Not Luke. I would have understood that. But Magic, I know Magic. And he would have to change his temperament. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He would have totally changed his temperament towards training to be able to do that. And I'm just saying, I'm not saying I'm correct. I'm just saying it's something we should watch.
Do you guys don't think it has anything to do with De'Aaron Fox?
Because Fox beat him up in the tournament, I don't.
I think it got zero to do with it.
I think that I do think that certainly if Lonzo was not absolutely 100%, you don't want to put him in a position against the guy who just beat him badly in the last game.
I was fired up to watch it.
I think that 2 for 15 in the first game, and then he bounced back with I think the 2 for 15 did have something to do with, because we have seen him, he did play better. This might be the better time to give him rest, because they couldn't rest him in game number 2. No. After that.
It's funny. This argument's always funny when people say they love the players in the 80s. And to that, I would say, let's say that knowing what we know about Rick Mahorn, Rick Mahorn was a tough guy, or Ben Wallace.
Yes.
If they were available in the draft and your team took them number 1, remember, everybody's like, oh, I love those 80s guys. If Charles Oakley was available in this draft, knowing he can't shoot, and you took him number 1, fans would go nuts.
Man, people that tell me the basketball is better in the 80s. Go back and watch the last NBA Finals the Celtics and Lakers played. The 2 best teams of the era. First 3 minutes of, I think, Game 3, it's 0-0 at the 9-minute mark. Kevin McHale's putting up the saddest jump hooks I've ever seen. But Barkley, who played in the 80s, says Kevin McHale was the hardest player to guard ever. Kevin McHale is an 11th man right now. And that's not an indictment on, you got to play in the era you're in. I get that. But they are almost playing a different sport.
Oh, God, yeah.
There was
it is
no
definitely a different
defense.
The thing I try to tell people, if you're really going to be a fan of sports, you have to adjust your eye about every 8 to 10 years.
Good point.
That's the only way you're going to ever be able to appreciate people for what they do. And stay out of the decade-to-decade comparisons, because it makes it even harder.
Okay, so think about this. How big is Aaron Judge?
6'7", 260-something.
270.
Babe Ruth was my height and 9 pounds heavier. I am essentially, let's just say Babe Ruth got sick over the weekend and vomited.
Right.
Monday, I'd be Babe Ruth. Like if he had a bad weekend and got sick and was just, and he lost like 7 pounds. I'm Babe Ruth. Think how scrawny I am. Like everybody's bigger now. It's a different world. Babe Ruth looked huge in 1921.
It is based on the food. We know there's more stuff in the food. Human beings are bigger, but when you go from sport to sport, you cannot say the skill level is better.
Oh, ma'am, I'm telling you right now. Hold up, CC.
You have so much more technology to get better.
CC.
Information.
The overall shooting is better.
Well, that's skill. Yeah. What is that?
That's it.
Bob Cousy was considered a magician.
I mean, Bob Cousy.
He went behind his back.
You act like I'm here.
Cousy could make a good high school team today.
I'm not up here a proponent of the 50s.
Okay, all right.
Gracious.
So that's fair enough.
Yes.
Go ahead. Sir.
No, Bob Cousy didn't dribble with his left hand. He literally had to.
No.
But you do have to evaluate. To Chris' point, you got to evaluate guys within their era, because if we just say because. You can only compete against who you compete against. Bill Russell's one of the 8 greatest, maybe one of the 4 greatest players ever, despite the fact that he wouldn't be dominant today, because in his era, he was unbelievable. So you do have to do it like that, but I just...
All right, we got to get out of here. So you guys are going to be at this game tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have fun. Nick Wright, Chris Carter. The show will be debuting. It is September 5th.
I think it's 56 days.
Oh, is it?
You're not counting, huh?
First things first is what it's going to be called in Miami, the Herd. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Miami.
That's
Marlins Park. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. That's the aquarium behind home plate.
Not the work of Gunther.
No, Gunther the pilot will be showing off his aviation skills later this hour. Justin Turner, Dodgers third baseman, probably their best pure hitter, is going to be showing up. Seager can hit. Puig's now down to 8 in the lineup. A lot of good players in that team, Adrian Gonzalez and others. Good to have you here with Christine Leahy. We were talking about, with Tom Verducci earlier and others, a little bit of a renaissance happening in baseball. And some of it is, yesterday we had the commissioner, Rob Manfred, and he didn't want to take any shots. He didn't want to take any shots at the NFL. But it is now well documented. Here at Fox, we have a great relationship with Major League Baseball and the NFL. I do not believe football is as dangerous as everybody tells you it is. In fact, there was a study this week that showed football's not a major risk for cognitive impairments called into question. It was a study by the Journal of American Medical Association Neurology. They took 4,000 men in Wisconsin in the late 50s. Some played football, some did not. They tracked their lives. And there was no more depression as a football player. In fact, there was less than there was as a non-football player, or there was less as a football player than a non-football player. So, again, studies, the time, equipment's changed. I do think the NFL is more aware, and I think the game is safer today. I think there's going to be modifications in the next 10 years to the helmets. I think you're going to increasingly see at the college and professional levels, I think players will be more often instructed to run out of bounds. We're seeing it more and more. Quarterbacks slide. You do not see quarterbacks hit. I've never watched football for hitting. That's a mythology. People don't watch football for hitting. People watch football for the excitement. It works well on TV. They bet it. Quarterback play. Better the offense, higher the TV ratings. Better the quarterback play, higher the TV ratings. I don't think what's happening to football right now is a death spiral. I think last year the ratings were down for an obvious reason, which is data proven, that on presidential election years, there often is a 5 to 8% erosion in NFL ratings. And we had last year, between Trump and Hillary, the most vitriolic, ugliest, most personal, most polarizing, most controversial election of my life. I've seen numerous studies. This one by the Medical Journal of Neurology is another one. I think CTE is something to be aware of. I'll throw this out. I was reading this story yesterday about life after football with A.J. Hawk. A.J. Hawk's a terrific football player, USC, Green Bay Packers, an all-timer. And he's talking, and the story, by the way, is about life after football. And, a lot of people are saying, I read a lot of media reports where, players retiring early. This is bad for football. Well, if I owned a professional football team or if I owned any business, could I not argue the number one thing as a business owner is to keep costs down, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like your personal budget. Spend less than you make. So if veteran players and quarterbacks aren't the ones retiring early, it's the linebackers, it's the offense, it's the defensive linemen, it's the guys in the brunt of the physicality. Tony Romo retiring early actually saved Jerry Jones money. And if players in football did, because of the transparency of the dangers of football, started retiring early, couldn't I argue, A, there'd be fewer horror stories 10 years later about football players because guys retire at 27, not 32. B, it's a lot of money off the books for owners. And C, the sport gets younger, where players have, that's the demo everybody wants. You get healthier players playing for a shorter period of time, making more money, and then exiting off the interstate of football into the exit of life. That wouldn't be the worst thing. So I do think there is a certain narrative now. The end of football is coming. I just don't buy it. I think football is going to get younger. That's money off the books for owners. I think there's a transparency, fewer horror stories. I think transparency is good for football players. I think the sport's as healthy, viable economically as it has ever been. I don't remember it being the number one show on 5 TV networks simultaneously. It has been for the last 6 or 7 years. Now, here is something that is happening, and this actually benefits basketball and baseball. You have people like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is enormous. He is 6'6", 6'7". Aaron Judge could have easily chosen football or basketball. What I would like to see, and I think it's great because I think baseball is just part of the fabric of the country, is if you do get more big, young, strong athletes that move into baseball from football, and we have a country now of 12 million people. We have a surplus of athletes. I would love to see more great athletes get into baseball. This was A-Rod on our show yesterday making a comparison to the new Yankee slugger, star, phenom, Aaron Judge.
But here's a guy, Colin, that I'm so excited for. For the first time in a long time, we have a LeBron James type of personality and size that can transcend sport. Here's a guy who's 6'7", 275 pounds, 9% body fat, 32-inch vertical. The guy bench presses 400 pounds, squats 500 pounds, and he's an amazing figure. I mean, and for the next generation to say, well, there's a guy that could be a tight end and an all-pro, and he chose baseball. Why can't I? And hopefully the kids are taking notes of Aaron Judge.
I think they are. Last night, it broke an 8-year record for the home run derby. Tom Verducci, as good a baseball writer as there is in America, also talked about Aaron Judge, the phenom who is moving the needle in American sports.
I'm not saying this guy is Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan. What I'm telling you is physically, he is such an outlier. He is apart from the rest of his peers. That doesn't happen in today's game, where you have so much training or drawing players from around the world. He hits the ball harder and farther than anybody in baseball. He is not a natural-born phenom. Trout and Harper got to the big leagues at 19. Aaron Judge is 25. So this is the product of not just DNA, like you're saying. Yes, he's blessed with size. A lot of hard work.
And if you did not see it last night, it was quite a display. And it should be noted, he was not the only guy, hitting 475-foot home runs. Many of these home run battles last night were won by a single home run. If you did not see Aaron Judge last night, we take you back about 18 hours to the home run derby, which he won.
Get it. There it goes. Climbs through the roof and out of the yard.
Really? Yeah. Oh, my God. Okay, it's about to be right here.
Oh,
there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Drop the bat.
Aaron Judge, your 2017 home run derby champion. And he made it look easy.
So tonight is Major League Baseball's All-Star Game. A lot of stars. Right now, the coastal city is very strong. Chicago and St. Louis. St. Louis historically a tremendous franchise, is off. Joe Buck discussed that yesterday. Cubs, were they lightning in a bottle? Not the same team. The power and the teams this year of note appear to be on the coast in Major League Baseball, and that's not necessarily a terrible thing. All right, I've got to turn my attention. Now, he's one of our friends. Let me see how I could put this, Christine.
I'm scared.
What happens? Why don't we take some shots from Gunther the Pilot while I think about this?
It's Larry. We should call him by his name if we want him to help us.
What happens when I have a friend of the show and I have to criticize him?
You just do it respectfully.
Okay.
What do you have to criticize? I think this looks beautiful.
This is a shot of Marlins Park right now. There's a freeway. Appears to be some trees in a neighborhood. Gunther, appreciate that. All right. On the other side, I will diplomatically criticize a friend for being part of the worst article ever written. That's what I'm going to do next. Welcome back. You are looking at Pilot Larry, giving us beautiful views.
Can you hear us? Wait, oh, you can hear us.
Hey, keep your hands on the wheel there. There's no reason to.
Larry or Gunther, which do you like better?
Well, it's a.k.a. Gunther, but it's Larry. Listen, look ahead. Don't be looking at me. I don't want any...
That is kind of a scary optic.
He's looking over at me and giving me a high five. I don't want any of that nonsense. Look ahead on the road, the interstate, and there's a picture of Florida, South Beach. Beautiful.
Is his camera on the wing or something?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, they don't put it on the windshield, so...
I don't know. I've never been in a plane with a camera that...
You and I will fly back again today on the same flight.
I know. We flew here on the same flight.
Now, this one I'm drinking.
You are?
Yeah.
What are you going to have?
Oh, I'll tell you right now.
Wait, and?
I'm going to have a domestic beer.
Okay.
And a soft pretzel.
I don't think they serve soft pretzels. Well, just a hard one.
I'll buy one in the store at the airport because I'm very excited. When you have to do these road trips, you get very exhausted.
I hope that, no offense, but I hope that we're not sitting together because I have a slight feeling that you might give me an aerial description of what we're looking at out the window.
I love my favorite.
And I don't want to be part of that.
You know my favorite show?
Yes, I do. And that's why
Aerial America.
That. Let's let them do it and not you. Yeah. So I feel bad for whoever's sitting next to me.
Okay, here's the dumbest article ever posted on a blog. Unfortunately, it's my friend's blog.
Oh, is it?
The Big League, Jason McIntyre. Okay. So I know it's the summer months and it's kind of slow. I totally get that. Generally, September until February, I got college football, I got the NFL, I got the NBA, I got a million topics. And then during the NBA, March, I get college basketball, and then I get the NFL draft, combine, free agency, and the NBA. The next 4 or 5 weeks, they're the slowest time of the year for us. I understand blogs have to find stuff to write about. Here's this one. The dang millennials are killing college football attendance, and here's why.
Oh, come on.
There are multiple stories out there that millennials have killed casual dining restaurants, bar soap, golf, the housing market, sitcoms. But the NCAA average home football attendance has fallen 5 of the last 6 years. Okay. So, first of all, college football, if you dive into this story, the Power 5 conferences are making double today what they were 5 years ago. Now, think about that. The major conferences, Pac-12, SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10. If I said to you 5 years ago, hey, listen, in 5 years, you know those millions you make? It will double. You wouldn't say, the sport is reeling. Here's what's happening. Is that universities and the NCAA and a lot of sports are doing this. They're getting greedy. The television revenue is enormous in college sports. It was always fine. Now it's absurd. And students are like, TV and football's better. This is the NFL's feeling with this as well. We can, on a crappy November weather day in Iowa, we just stay home and watch the game. There is first of all, every time you watch a big game in college football, the stadium's full. Second of all, there's a way to solve this. Give college students, when you go to college, 5 years of free tickets. Here's a 5-year plan. You get into the stadium, first come, first serve for free. And 3, college stadiums, because many are old, and you don't have an owner like Pro Sports or a municipality in a city willing to pay for them, they're too big. The bottom line is baseball stadiums are now too big. What has happened in the MLS? Small stadiums. What are they doing with new baseball stadiums? Smaller stadiums. NFL stadiums in big cities are about 70,000 people. College football stadiums, archaic in tiny towns, are like 104,000 people. So USC this year is doing it right. They're going from 94,000 to 78. So college football is rolling. They have doubled the income. What they're facing now due to greed is not giving away free tickets is college students are on their devices and at home saying, the weather's lousy here in November. We're going to probably watch this on TV or our device.
I'm so glad that you said that because I don't like it when people blame millennials for what they should be fixing. Like, you lost me when the article said millennials killed bar soap. Like, no, bar soap killed bar soap.
And by the way, any college football's issues are college football.
Right.
By the way, stop scheduling a bunch of games on nights and, whenever I hear like millennials are ruining stuff. No, the world changes. What college football should do is do what USC's doing. Shrink your stadium, make it more consumer friendly, give college kids as many free tickets as you can. You do realize their parents are paying for everything on campus. Give them some freebies, a 5-year pass, the sport's fine, the rating's good, revenue is incredible, and we have this insatiable love for college football. And this year is one of the only years of my life that college football, all the powerhouses, all of them, outside of maybe the Miami Hurricanes and Texas Longhorns, I think they'll both be pretty good, are outstanding. This is also an amazing football story. I got to get to this. Justin Turner is supposed to be on our show in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, one of those minutes. In less than a week, the window closes for franchise tag players in the NFL to sign multi-year contracts. They have been monkeying around with with Kirk Cousins of Washington now for 2 and 3 years. This is a big mistake. That Kirk Cousins is facing what a lot of Americans do and a lot of people do. Because he didn't have a high enough profile coming into the NFL, he is seen in a lot of eyes as a backup quarterback. And because he was the second quarterback drafted in the same year with RG3, who was a better quarterback then, people are not giving Kirk Cousins a look here. There's a stigma around him. He's a backup. Think about how many chances Ryan Tannehill, who was a franchise quarterback out of college, look at all the chances Ryan Tannehill here in Miami has had. His career record is under 500. In division, he's 10 and 17. Even if you remove New England, he's 7 and 11. Last year, 19 touchdowns, 12 picks, and overwhelmingly, Tannehill is seen as safe and a franchise quarterback. Cam Newton, who has had advantages over Kirk Cousins, same head coach, same quarterback coach, no contract hanging over his head, better defenses, less chaos organizationally. Cam Newton's numbers last year are significantly less than Kirk Cousins. Now, Cam has a better in-division record than Kirk Cousins. That's because his division has been weaker. Tampa Bay, until recently, couldn't get their act together. New Orleans hasn't played defense and tackled well for 6 years. And Atlanta's hot and cold. Now they're hot. So my takeaway on this is people are seeing Kirk Cousins. He's facing a stigma here. He's not a franchise quarterback. Look at his numbers to Tannehill. Look at his numbers to Cam Newton. Show me where Kirk Cousins' last 2 or 3 years is significantly less of a football player. I don't buy it. He's a franchise quarterback. Here was Mike Shanahan, our show near Christmas, and his son Kyle was with the Redskins when they drafted him. Here's what Mike Shanahan says about Kirk Cousins.
What Kirk did away from the football field was, did things that I've never been around a person that studied that hard, worked that hard. There's no question he is a franchise guy. And you give him a good system, and Kirk Cousins will win you a Super Bowl. And there's no question. He's got all the intangibles that you look for.
Big enough, strong enough, 67% completion percentage, 4,900 yards. He is not a top 7 quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback. With CEREC technology, dentists can create a crown in one appointment, making your dental experience fast and easy. To find a dentist with CEREC, spelled front back the same, CEREC, go to 1-800-dentist.com/dentist. Here's Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, this year, 2 of Carson Wentz's top 3 receivers were not with the team last year. So Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith have made the decision to go to Fargo to work out with Carson Wentz. Fargo, great show, not on my top 10 list of destinations I would like to go to this summer. But I think this is great that they're going to do this. What would it take for you to do a live show from North Dakota? What kind of event?
I have actually been to South Dakota twice for speaking engagements, and it's beautiful. In the summer, I went to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay.
Really, really, really cute. And I went to Lake Okoboji, which is like in Iowa, South Dakota on the border, and that was beautiful. So let me tell you something. I have not spent a lot of time in North Dakota, but I imagine it's fairly similar to South Dakota.
Well, I wonder that sometimes. Are North and South Dakota very similar? Well, they're not the same. They're two different places.
Same.
There's a border.
Well, I know, but it's the same topography and the same. South Dakota is underrated, and the tax situation's good. I may just retire there.
The tax situation? Okay, so the Panthers are saying they want Cam Newton to run less and throw quicker. He rushed a career low 90 times for 359 yards last season, and we should see that trend continue this year. I think that will be a way to extend Cam Newton's career, obviously, which has been something that we've talked about, whether or not he would be in the league long term. It'll just be whether or not he's willing to do this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Big Ben and Cam are huge, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I watched Big Ben last year, and he kind of doesn't look the same, and I think he's taken a lot of shots.
Yes, he said so.
And so my thing with Cam is I like when Carolina, I have actually Carolina as one of my 2 turnaround teams in the NFL this year. LA Rams 1, Carolina 2. And I think Christian McCaffrey will ease some of the burden on him, and I'm glad. I think, listen, Cam comes into the league, had a style, but go look at Big Ben. You just can't take, I don't care how big you are. You cannot take the shots Ben and Cam have. At some point, sit in the pocket, throw darts, let other people take the hits.
Absolutely. And finally, people from Pittsburgh were very upset when they heard that Tom Brady was taking pictures with the Stanley Cup that Pittsburgh just won, especially since the Patriots have been responsible for the Steelers not doing so well recently. But now it turns out that the reason that he was taking this photo is because Tom Brady was hanging out with the owner of the Penguins. And he had the trophy at his house in Southern California. So good for Tom Brady. Apparently right now what he's doing is, hey, you're a billionaire, we're friends, let me come over.
Yeah, I think, have you ever noticed that I don't have any billionaire friends, but
none?
No.
Come on, where you live, there's no billionaire friends you have?
No, I live at the beach. A lot of flip-flops.
Yeah,
I don't
flip-flops that are Gucci.
Not where I live.
Let's be real.
I live in a very hard scrabble area. Yeah, I tend to think rich people hang out with rich people, regardless of affiliation and teams.
Colin.
Yeah. I think that's what they do. That's my take.
There are, I know for a fact, multi-millionaires in your neighborhood.
Well,
probably, so, maybe
I live in Los Angeles, so there's a lot of...
Yeah, look at the Strand. Look at those homes.
Let's not
just watch out. Well, just watch out for Tom Brady because he might be lurking the streets wanting to take a photo with people with trophies.
Yeah, Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herdline News.
Good stuff. I had Tom Verducci was on earlier today, and we got into this discussion. Verducci's a tremendous baseball person, and we're waiting for Justin Turner of the Dodgers here. He's at a parade, and we're trying to get him into the stadium. I do want to take you back, though, to Tom Verducci earlier today. We got into this discussion of what's happening, some of the good young baseball players. And for us at Fox, baseball's a win. That's why we keep going to the All-Star game. We got the World Series. And I asked Verducci, I said, do you see Aaron Judge? Because I do. Do you see him already as a major league star?
He's a compelling star, not just a star. People want to see him. Colin, I can tell you this. Let's let him play a full season. I agree with what you're saying. But based on size and physical skill, we have never seen anybody like Aaron Judge. 6'7", 280 pounds. That has never existed in Major League Baseball. He's also very athletic. You think about Tiger in his prime, Michael in his prime. What were they? They were ahead of the field in what they did. I'm not saying this guy is Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan. What I'm telling you is physically, he is such an outlier. He is apart from the rest of his peers. That doesn't happen in today's game, where you have so much training or drawing players from around the world. He hits the ball harder and farther than anybody in baseball.
Well, and let's be honest about this. Tiger didn't look like other PGA pros. He looked like Ed Reed of the Ravens. Okay, LeBron was 6'9", no body fat. Part of greatness is, it is just physical. They always say about parenting that after you create the child, a lot of the parenting is done. That, you think you put them in good schools and you're a good baby Einstein. But a lot of the parenting is they're going to get its DNA. A lot of sports is, I'm big, I'm strong. Adrian Peterson just faster. I'm trying to draw a parallel. I'm like Dave Winfield, Dave Parker. I got to go to the 70s.
Yeah, and this guy's bigger than those guys.
Significantly bigger.
Dave Winfield got drafted in football and basketball. But yeah, 6'7", 280. But here's the thing about Aaron Judge we have to remember. He's 25 years old. He is not a natural-born phenom. Trout and Harper got to the big leagues at 19. Aaron Judge is 25. His first year at Fresno State, he hit 2 home runs. His sophomore year, he hit 4 home runs. So this is the product of not just DNA, like you're saying. Yes, he's blessed with size.
Huge.
A lot of hard work. This dude hit 179 last year at the big leagues and struck out half the time he came to the plate. And now he is the it guy in baseball.
You know what's really fun? I have friends in New York. Yankee ratings are up 40% this year. Is that, it was for the longest time in baseball. The Yankees go out and spend a lot of money on people. And that's fine. But there is really something about the Lonzo Ball effect. That is, I want to watch a star, my star, and I grow with him. It's Sanchez. It's Judge. They just brought up somebody, another kid they brought up is
Frazier.
Frazier is hot. It's like the Yankees have decided, okay, we're going to let some of these contract runs out. Are these the new Yankees, or will they be aggressive at the trading deadline?
Both, actually. But these are the new Yankees. In fact, I think this is an untouchable core, those guys you mentioned. They'll try to improve this team because they are a playoff contender, but not at the expense of what you said, these homegrown players going forward. Because, yes, for the last couple of years, I'll be honest with you, if you're a Yankee fan, there has not been a player who you wanted to pay money to go see on the Yankees. Partly because a lot of those were imported as free agents.
And they were injured and they were older players.
And they were older. Now it's, let's see the guys who have come through our farm system. That's more important in baseball than any other sport, to watch a player grow within the system.
When you look at baseball right now, we were saying youth participation's actually up. And yesterday, Rob Manfred, he didn't want to take any shots at the NFL, but there's a CTE issue, sometimes overplayed, but nonetheless, moms decide what sons play. Not dads. Moms decide what sons play. A lot of moms now, basketball, let's be honest. If dad's 5'7", chances are your son's not going to play in the NBA. It is intimidating when you're a young person. You go to an AAU gym and everybody's so tall and talented. Football, you've got some physical fears. I sense at a base level a renaissance with baseball at the youth level. Do you sense it? Do you think baseball senses that?
Absolutely. The opportunity is there. I will say that. Tonight's game, watch Jose Altuve standing next to Aaron Judge. If you don't need a better definition of that, anybody can play this game. One's 5'6", one's 6'7", then you're missing something. And that's the great thing about the game. It is the most democratic of all games that we have. Anybody can play. I think there's a real opportunity here, Colin. Based on the Cubs winning the World Series last year, the highest-rated World Series in a generation, 25 years. All the young stars in this game. That home run derby last night was magnificent.
It got huge numbers, by the way.
Yeah, the young players, young stars, they really appealed to the young fans of the game. So the opportunity is there. One thing that needs to be done, and MLB knows this, keep the games moving at a better clip.
Yeah.
That's the only thing missing, Colin. It's pace of action, not time of game. Look at soccer, basketball, football. The ball is in motion. We're retraining our brains. We need that constant feedback. Baseball needs to pick up the pace.
My favorite player to watch is Bryce Harper. And I knew the story because I spent years and years out of college going to Vegas. It was my first job. So I always have a soft spot for Vegas stories. And Bryce Harper's a Vegas kid, came on the show last year, met his dad, really neat family. Generally, when you're called the chosen one, generally it works. Tiger was, LeBron was, Bryce is remarkable. So, but it's funny. He comes into baseball and he hits like 22 jacks, hits 270. Now he becomes an MVP. Then his average dips. Let's go into the mind of Bryce Harper. So far, I believe he's delivered. I absolutely see him as he has been everything I was hoping for. He's got a flair. He's dynamic. How is he viewed in baseball? Because when he came onto the scene, Tom, a little pushback, a little cocky, got the hair. How is he viewed now? Is he put in the years that now he's one of the guys?
Well, first of all, Colin, I'll take credit or blame because I wrote that story on Bryce. We put him on the cover of SI at 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I go in there with complete skepticism. He can't really be that good, or he can't be that mature to carry this kind of responsibility. He blew me away with how good he was and how mature that he was. I felt fine about putting him on the cover. I think the blowback early on was that he was getting all this recognition early. And some of the guys, there's a pay your dues attitude in the game. They didn't think he paid his dues.
Right.
But when you look at the things that he upsets people about, what is it? Does he play the game too hard? Maybe that's it that he does, right?
Yeah.
As you say, emotionally, helmet's flying off the head. There's nothing that he's done to embarrass the game. In fact, he sleeps, eats, breathes baseball.
No
you have
question.
to respect that. Colin, right now, I think he's the most valuable property in baseball because he's going to be a free agent after next year. You can't touch Kershaw. You can't touch Trout right now. This guy is an everyday player with flair who hits home runs, who is good-looking guy, who gets the whole thing about responsibility beyond yourself to the game. To me, there's nobody more valuable in baseball. That contract, the meter is going to drop at $400 million next year and probably get closer to $5.
Is there a precedent historically? Did batting averages come down in the postseason because you're facing?
They do. I mean, you're not going to see a number 4 or 5 starter. You're not going to see the last guy to the bullpen. So, yeah, it's tougher to score runs in the postseason.
More situational.
Yeah.
Lower runs.
Exactly. Okay. That's why I think the Houston Astros now are dangerous. Remember, the last 10 years, they were like a lot of the analytically inclined teams. They thought strikeouts were just another out. But you look what wins in October. You have to put the ball in play. Now the Astros put the ball in play better than anybody in the American League. So they've gotten the religion on making contact, moving runners along. You have to play a little bit different game in October, and I think we've seen that with teams like the Giants and the Royals. You put the ball in play. The Cubs did a good job last year, and I think the Astros now are a very dangerous October team because of that.
A humble man who has more employers than anybody in sportscasting, Tom Verducci. It's great seeing you.
Great being here. Thanks.
Still waiting, Justin Turner. Dodgers in a parade. We're trying to pull him out of it. Stay tuned.
Hard.
Welcome back. Final segment here. Marlins Park in Miami. Christine Leahy and myself. So I'm watching last night. I got even some of my friends during the home run derby. When they saw Pitbull, people were like, oh, come on, that's the last thing baseball needs. And my argument was, no, it's actually exactly what baseball needs, which is youth, fun, loud, excitement. So Pitbull was performing last night, and I tell people this all the time, is the Super Bowl halftime show, they're doing that and knowing that there are people, 3 million people will tune in just for the halftime show, and then they'll leave for Lady Gaga. Like, sports fans struggle with this. They think everything now in a telecast is for them. In the Olympics, take the Olympics, for example. If it was up to me, it would be hockey and boxing. Why are gymnastics so prevalent in Olympic coverage? Because your mom is going to watch, and your sister would watch, and they may not always be sports fans. So the Olympics figured out very early that pageantry and stories about individuals' lives played really well without diehard sports fans. And sports fans, when I used to be in sports radio, like when I started out, every Olympic event, it was the same complaint. I can't believe they don't give me boxing. The Olympics aren't built for boxing fans. The Olympics are built for a family to watch, and so the more violent stuff set aside. They want a 9-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son to be able to watch with the family. bring in the TV numbers. And it's the same with the home run derby. You get some non-traditional people watching the home run derby, and baseball's damned if it does, damned if it doesn't. They want to get younger. They want to collect with millennials, connect. So they put Pitbull on, and everybody's hammering on Pitbull. This is what they're trying to do. That's why they bring the All-Star game next year to glamorous D.C., and this year to Miami, and last year to coastal San Diego. They're trying to make it look young. And the other thing is, baseball people, for whatever reason, baseball fans are so tough on their announcers. I mean, Pitbull's great. But baseball people have always been like this. They are so tough on their announcers. Joe Buck is the most talented guy I've ever worked with in any network. Joe Buck, Super Bowls, World Series. Very few people in this business I'm in awe of. The average guy could not call my radio show and fill 8 seconds without stuttering. Joe Buck can talk his way through a Super Bowl, people, headsets, 200 million people watching effortlessly. He's worked with multiple partners. He is so gifted. But last night's a prime example. Jessica Mendoza is part of the my former employer, their home run derby, their baseball team. And I'm on Twitter last night watching the home run derby. And people are just savage toward Jessica Mendoza because she is unique and different and really the first female voice in baseball broadcasting of that stature. And they're like, oh, this is terrible. What? You loved the previous guy who screamed back 1,000 times? You didn't like him. And now you have a new broadcaster and you don't like them. You do realize they're calling batting practice. It's not a game. It's not the Stanley Cup. They're calling batting practice for 2 hours. Let me tell you something. I watched last night. Their enthusiasm was infectious. Now, there was a lot of, wow, oh, my God, look at this. It's batting practice. And we used to have another guy that did it, Chris Berman. Everybody always criticized him. But he made it fun, and he made it personable. And then they have this team last night, and I'll let you listen to some of it. And they were reacting how I would react watching a 500-foot home run. Here's the winner.
Oh, forget it. There it goes. Climbs through the roof and out of the yard. Really?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Okay, it's not the big thing right here.
Oh!
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen.
Drop the bat.
Aaron Judge, your 2017 home run derby champion. And he made it look easy.
Okay, great energy, descriptive. They are calling batting practice.
There's only so many things you can say.
For 2 hours? I mean, honestly, I was sitting there last night, I went on Twitter for 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, people, stop. I stopped taking callers. Why? Because they couldn't finish a sentence. And I'm like, people will go on and say the worst things about people. I thought last night the new crew had a ton of energy. It was very infectious. I mean, you were watching, Aaron Judge is like, this is all-time stuff. I've never seen a baseball player that looks like him. And now the Yankees have all these young players, and the Dodgers have 14 RBIs on 3-0 counts this year, way more than the rest of baseball, a total free-swinging baseball team. And it's like, it's fun. Like, enjoy it. Put your arms around it. Justin Turner couldn't make it today. We wait. Couldn't make it in a parade. Apparently, it was a heck of a parade. One more shot, if we could, from Gunther, our courageous mustachioed helicopter pilot.
What is that?
He's got a mustache. Not pistachio, mustachioed.
You just
not pistachio.
His name's also Larry.
Well, I know, but I've known two Larrys, and both would take it as a compliment if you called him Gunther in public.
Yeah, but their mom wouldn't. The mom gave Larry his name Larry because she liked it.
Let me tell you something. She would have called him Gunther, but there was pressure within the family to name him after a cousin. And so they called him Larry, and they regretted it for the rest of their lives. Hey, by the way, don't be waving at us. Keep your hands on the wheel there, pal.
Oh, there he goes. He's looking straight up.
Bouncing off a bank downtown or something. All right?
That's a terrible thing
to
say.
I mean, listen, you've just got to take care of the city of Miami. They've been very gracious to us. So
they have. It's been beautiful.
So we had Chris Carter on earlier today, and Nick Wright. Their show debuts September 5th. I'm excited. Now, This week, we go back to L.A. and do our shows.
Yes.
Now, then I'm taking a week off to go to Park City.
I am also going to be off.
But you're going to Belize or something.
Paris.
Oh, my gosh. That is...
And the south of France. I mean,
whoa!
Sorry.
Well, I
needed a vacation.
I'm going to the south of Utah.
Hey, but you love that area, so it's fine.
It's one of my favorite places in the country is in the summer. It's just beautiful. You know, all these ski resorts are always, like, you go to these ski resorts, but if you go to a ski resort, like wherever you go, the Mount Bachelor, Whistler, Vermont, Stowe, whatever.
Right.
I think they're more beautiful in the summer. And you get the mountains in the summer. Oh, so beautiful.
See, I like the snow, though.
I like it on my terms.
Well, that's why you live in LA, so you can get it on your terms.
Yeah, I like snow's great. Cold weather's great on my terms. Okay.
If only Mother Nature will listen to you at all times.
Carter, Nick Wright, Craig Robinson, Funny Guy the actor, Tom Verducci, A-Rod stopped by yesterday, Joe Buck, John Smoltz. I want to thank everybody last couple of days that stopped by. It's been a very fun time at Marlins Park in Miami. We head home now, back tomorrow, of course. And the All-Star Game is on Fox tonight. You saw the gala last night, the Stars. Matchups tonight, American National. It is an exhibition tonight. Doesn't count toward home field advantage, and that's the way it should be. Enjoy it. It's the Herd.